This is Burge FM.
Okay. So yeah, we can just get started with introductions about well, number one, Verge and us. So I'm Reg, and the other person in this room is Lou. We are both like co-founders and also like people that run Verge, and that started like January. And really, we want to just continue and implement more workshops. One of the biggest things about DJing is people think you have to do it like in person, and you literally don't have to, because over uh, quarantine there was a lot of like Zoom parties and etc. And as well, you can learn how to DJ off your computer. So this is why we're doing both digital and physical, and now we're going to go right into the digital PowerPoint. So the title of it is So You Want to Be a DJ. And this is like basically breaking down into the overview, which is the intro to DJ history, DJ culture, the do's, don'ts of DJing, equipment and software, and important figures or things to know. And then after that, we'll get into virtual DJ.
So what is DJing? DJ is basically mixing music, like various songs together for a set so that things sound super cohesive, so that there's no real like stops or starts, and people can just like keep dancing or, you know, kind of keep the vibe tight. It's important because the club has historically just been a place where a lot of solidarity is built among marginalized people, and where community has kind of been able to flourish out of the darkness, and something has been built. And I mean, during the quarantine, it was also, we found it to be kind of like really uniting and a very sweet thing. And it also is a huge part of the music industry because you're, as a DJ, you know, you're controlling like what tracks people are hearing. You're able to like boost certain producers that you like, or you know, you're friends with, and you can showcase the music that like you really are listening to, and or the scene that you're really into. You can go ahead, unless you have something to say.
Not really. And really, this idea of DJ culture, there's a lot of memes and jokes about there's no DJ culture. There kind of is.
There's memes about it, so there's a there's a culture.
Yeah, so there is a culture, but outside of that, it is like one facet of like nightlife culture. So it's kind of like important to like know histories of nightlife and like why that's important. Even though you can DJ not in nightlife, you can DJ at weddings, at barbecues, at Chuck E. Cheese, you know, anywhere.
You can put this for fun. We'll get into that.
Yeah, and basically, you know, you can DJ however you want. There's any genre, any type of like music, and as well, the main important idea, like Lou said, it's just about bringing people together and having people to dance. That's why DJing exists. There doesn't have to be like a giant like, oh, you did this wrong, you're kicked out. Like there's no like exclusive group, and we really want to push that because there's certain ways people teach DJing and it's not true. But going back to the nightlife and the idea, and also what Lou touched upon, that a lot of there's just a lot of important things to keep note. There is a large kind of addiction culture in nightlife, and that also affects a lot of DJs and DJing and the entertainment industry in general. So you can't really just be blind to it. And then also there's a lot of racism, homophobia, and transphobia within this circle, even though you think it'd be really inclusive, but there's like a lot of push against it. There's still a lot of work to need to be done, but there historically, and especially within the past, like before like the past couple of years, it was in certain spaces it wasn't safe for certain people. And certain magazines you can look for like better articles in the way we're explaining it. There's a lot on Mixmag, Crack Magazine, Fact Magazine, and Resident Advisor. They do a lot of interviews on DJs and underground and nightlife culture. Even though some people make fun of them, those are the kind of things left and that also have like histories of like nightlife and etc. There's not really an archive of DJing that in person that I could drive to, so I usually just look up interviews and stuff. So the do's and don'ts of DJing. So these are really important. I didn't know this until like recently when I really was like getting into it. But these are like really good notes and other tips I've gotten from like other DJs and people I've talked to in nightlife. And essentially buy independent, rip corporate. I kind of came up with that. So essentially try to buy like really, if it's like a smaller artist, if they're not like Justin Bieber or like Selena Gomez, you know, try to buy their music off of Bandcamp or like wherever they're selling it. It really goes to them. And being an independent artist is hard. So just like ripping it can be bad. But sometimes they do have like free music off of like SoundCloud and Bandcamp. So you can always look for it, or you can even talk to the producer like themselves and they'll also like send you the song. So it's always like, I say like first like reach out before ripping it, but if not, you know, credit them. And then also like if you can buy, most songs are like $1 or $2 off of Bandcamp, try to do that first. But if it's like Fall Out Boy, you know, you can just go to YouTube to MP3, take that shit, it's fine. And number two, you know, support any DJs of like any genre. Every part of the world has dance music. I know it's kind of like easy just to get sucked into like a techno bubble within like America and the United States, but there's like dance music in like other places such as like Brazil and other parts of like Africa, and also definitely in the UK and just like other places like New Zealand. So it's important to try to look at world dance music instead of like a select few, and that does come from like ideas of like imperialism and colonialism in a weird, like in a way it's still there. So if you can explore every type of dance music, support any type of DJ, it'll just like make your ear better. You don't have to play that music, but it's just good to know. And that leads to the third topic, or actually tip, is to build community. We keep saying this, but this literally will help you to be a DJ. If you don't build community, no one will go to your dance parties. No one will care about your mixes. You know, you have to talk to people who are not just your friends. Talk to like the DJs that you listen to. Talk to the producers that you really like their songs. Comment on their songs. Message them personally. Recently, that has been working a lot for me. Like I've been like getting in contact with different producers and DJs just because I'm like always supporting them and like talking to them and like, yo, your shit is fire, you know? If you don't build community, there's no point of you being a DJ. That's like saying it bluntly. I don't mean it to be so mean, but it's true.
Okay, so there's a lot of different ways that you can go about this, and you can also go about like starting out. You can also build your way up to certain things. So we kind of laid them out. We're going to talk in depth about these options, but we kind of laid them out like, you know, beginner, entry level, maybe mid-level, and then high level, because most of the entry level and really all that you need to like begin to learn, what we're going to show you today is like virtual DJ, maybe like a simple DDJ, and then a step up will be like Serato, a more complicated CD or DDJ that's more like a CDJ, and then like high level Ableton CDJ. So yeah, we can talk about the cheaper options first.
Yeah, I think like, yeah, I think it doesn't work like higher levels like Ableton to Serato, but I do think like left to right it gets harder. Like, oh, on your computer,
Oh yeah.
Virtual
I see.
DJ, Serato, Ableton. And then
Versus
the next step will be getting a board. And usually the cheaper ones are like the top two, the bottom ones are like kind of like more expensive. And the right hand side, CDJs are standalone like DJ boards. Those are going to be the most expensive, and the most harder to like learn. And each time you change from computer, like different hardwares, you have to kind of like relearn how to DJ too. So it's important to know like where do you want to start off, and also it doesn't matter. But yeah, even though people are like, you can't DJ off your laptop, you can.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So virtual DJ is what we're going to show you today. It is super customizable. It's just a software on your computer. Has a ton of features. You can just kind of change the inputs and outputs within the software. So that means that you can end up playing from a board, but you don't have to. You can just DJ on your laptop as well. And I'm trying to think what else I should say right now, but we're going to show you virtual DJ. So
That's true.
yeah. Serato is another DJ software. It's not as customizable. It's like kind of just more hardline. It is what it is. But a lot of DJs use this. I haven't. A lot of Pioneer DJs come with this. So it's very likely that you will encounter it at some point if you don't use it right away. And Ableton is a production software, so you can mix on it. I guess it's not as intuitive as like the programs that are made for DJing, like Virtual DJ or Serato. But yeah, I mean, a lot of DJs get into producing music, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like you can't really play Ableton during a party, so it's just like I really just like hope even if you're like starting on Ableton, just like kind of move past. Like if you want to get into live entertainment, there's a difference between just like live and or also just like doing things behind the scenes.
Yeah. So these are just two Pioneer DDJs that both have 4 channels. They both have hot cues, stuff like that. Obviously the DDJ 1000 has a bit more going on. Like I think it just has a mixer for every channel, all the 4 channels it has. But yeah, these are both pretty simple, and you can also find them cheaper used if you want to. Like I have looked on Facebook Marketplace and stuff, and there's always someone selling a DDJ. So yeah.
Yeah, you can roughly find the DDJ SB3 for like $300, or even like $230. But yeah, usually you would plug this into your laptop with the software and play the software through the hardware. And for the DDJ 1000, it's like a little step higher, but you still need a laptop so you can play the songs and load them correctly. And both of these two DDJ boards have 4 decks. And that's going to be important as we move higher. But the ability to do 4 decks is what you can do on your computer and also on these 2 types of boards. And Pioneer is like it's like the top line of like DJ boards. Like a lot of people buy that brand.
Yeah.
Oh wait, did I skip any? No, I didn't.
No, it's okay. We can talk about CDJs. CDJs, you got only 2 decks unless you buy 2 more CDJs. But they're really expensive. Yeah, so not too many people are doing that. And you also you would not be using your laptop while playing this. You would have processed the songs and like upload them directly to the CDJs. Um, but you can do a lot more. It is notoriously more difficult. Like, this is one of those things you'll have to like relearn, but it's also what most venues have. Like, if you show up at a club, they'll just like have this. So it's good to know how to play on it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very key to like learn CDJ if you want to like do live entertainment. Some people do play off of like their smaller boards and etc. At like not like professional venues, and that's fine. But if you do want to become like a club DJ or a rap or DJ, you know, want to like play like and before like an artist, they'll be using these. And outside of that, yeah, they mimic turntables. There's like really interesting like history behind like CDJs. And the only other thing I would say is for Pioneer, they also have like standalone DJ boards, which is the DDJ RX2 or RR, or like, you know, we'll be sending this PowerPoint. Those standalones, they're very similar to CDJs, but they're actually smaller and they're just one board. And you can also play, you know, you don't need a laptop, they're standalone. And you can play on them to like get used to the idea of CDJs, mainly because with CDJs, it's just like more live mixing. I can't really explain it unless you like play on them. But additionally, there's some other brands that are not Pioneer that I included just in case people don't want to buy Pioneer. But there's basically Traktor and Denon. Denon is part of Traktor. Or technically like the native instrument is what the brand is technically called, but they kind of like just have similar boards as Pioneer. You probably will like rarely see any of these. A lot of people do buy Pioneer. The only difference is with the Denon DJ Prime 4 standalone DJ system, that actually is a 4-deck, 4-channel standalone DJ board. With CDJs, that whole setup costs about like $5,000. So if you have like 2 more like decks, that's like closer to like 8 to 10 grand, just because that's how expensive it is. With anything that Pioneer has made before the CDJ and like above like the computer DJ, like DJ board connected to computer, like anything after that, it's only 2 decks. So the Denon DJ is like kind of like close to a CDJ, but it's a different type of like setup. Like it's not the same like company, so they have different things. And I haven't met many people using these types of boards, but that's something to keep in mind. But as you go higher, you know, you could be like, for me, I started off doing 4 decks on my computer and on my DJ board, and then when I got to CDJs, I only used 2. So it does happen.
Gonna have to relearn, like, you know, how to use 2 decks instead of like 4, because since I'm using 4 decks a lot, I'll be like, oh, I don't have to like go so quick. But yeah, you kind of have to go quicker when you have 2 decks. So to touch on where you're sourcing your music from, for a second, SoulSeek is a great resource. Like, always try to buy from, you know, artists who are not Fall Out Boy, who aren't corporate. But SoulSeek is peer-to-peer file sharing. It's not illegal. It will eventually tell you that you will have to upload files to continue downloading files, but you can use it for free. It's just an app that you download onto your computer, and you just search up your little song. Someone has most likely dropped it in there, and then you download your little song. So it's good high quality audio, and you can find a lot of deeper cuts, and you can find a lot of popular music. Kind of has it all. So it's good. Yeah.
And now we're going to get into some kind of like the last end of the PowerPoint, we're just going to talk about important things people should know flat out just starting as DJs, especially if you're trying to be a club DJ. You know, if you're going to be like a hip hop rap DJ, you know, it may not be as like important. They're like all genres mixed together. But we don't really name all of them throughout the rest of like these collages and videos, but really try to like know these genres of like dance music, you know, Jersey club, house music, ghetto house, jungle, juke, grime, UK funky, D&B, drum and bass, footwork, ballet funk, and gqom. Like these are like, you know, from the US and also outside of the US and just from different parts of the world. These are like really kind of like top tier like dance genres, and I'm not even touching on all dance genres, but these are kind of like the most important. So kind of like the first, kind of like, I didn't really want to get into techno. Like you can definitely research like techno, like documentaries. Those are like all over the place, but we'll be sending those PowerPoint like to everyone and also this recording. But this is a really good house one, and there's a lot of different house documentaries. That's why I only included one, because it's just like,
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones.
yeah, house and techno they have been like documented pretty well. But it's really important to know those two because they come from the Midwest and they come from primarily Black and brown queer spaces. So knowing that history is like really important because most club music is like still made in those spaces and then commodified and whitewashed. So I want to like click and play one of these. Wait.
That kick pattern.
That
Yeah,
kick
you know
pattern.
the one I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
you know the one I'm talking about.
That's a staple of the Jersey
That's a
club
staple
sound.
of the Jersey club
A sound
sound.
that's gone viral.
A
across
sound that's gone
YouTube,
viral
TikTok,
across YouTube,
making
and
the whole
TikTok,
world shift.
making the whole world shift.
You've probably heard the Jersey
You've
Club
probably
remixes
heard
that
the
have
Jersey
gone
Club
viral
remixes
online.
that have gone viral online.
Or maybe you've heard Jersey Club's
Or maybe you've heard
influence
Jersey
in
Club's
top 40
influence
hits like
in
Level
top
Up
40
by
hits
Sierra.
like Level Up by Sierra.
If you've been on TikTok,
If you've been
you
on
definitely
TikTok,
know this song,
you
A
definitely
Jersey
know
Native,
this song,
Cookie
A Jersey Native, Cookie Floss.
This sound originates from black
This sound
DJs
originates
of the
from
Newark
black
clubs.
DJs of the
And
Newark
even though
clubs.
online data
And even though
shows that
online
more
data
women are
shows
listening
that
to
more
Jersey
women
Club
are
than men,
listening to Jersey
the
Club than
music
men,
production has been
the music
historically
production
male
has
dominated.
been historically male dominated.
Recently, however,
Recently, however,
in
there's
women
been a
producers
rise
making
in
club
women
music.
producers making club
But
music.
before we get into that story,
But before we get into
let's
that
rewind a
story,
bit and talk
let's
about where
rewind a
Jersey
bit
Club
and
came
talk
from.
about where Jersey Club came
Soundfield
from.
went to Newark, New Jersey
Soundfield went to Newark, New Jersey to meet the dancers and producers who
to
make
find
this
out what
music
makes this
and to
sound
find
so
out what makes this
contagious.
sound so contagious.
Okay, that was just like a little taste, but you can watch this and the rest of it. Another important, you know, they were on the list, but essentially, please, if you are going to be club DJ, research footwork and juke. Like, like that's just like a statement. And I'll like play a little bit, but it has also been documented pretty like more. It's like came out in the 1990s in Chicago. And it has some documentation versus like other newer genres, but yeah, this yeah, like this documentary isn't like super like, oh, this is how it is. It kind of like just immerses itself in the community. But I'm gonna like play the song a little bit more so you can like hear what the genre sounds like, if that makes sense.
Footwork is an art.
Footwork is an art. I'm a
I
sound.
do this.
I do this.
The technology so on point now. We can sample pretty much anything now.
Guest technicians basically like you said, like a group of DJs basically.
You know what we do? We juke the tracks out.
You know, Chicago, you know, it's a town full of talent, but it's also a town full of haters.
Because that's what it is. It's a battle.
Okay, I'm just gonna mute myself just because the reason why juke and footwork is really important, because you can see why it's dance music, and you can see that earlier in techno and house. Basically, footwork is a type of dance that is only to like a certain type of production, which is footwork. So basically the dance that I'll like play in a second is footwork. That is how the dance genre got its name. So, and that's like really important when we're thinking about, like, sometimes we get lost in the abstraction of like, oh, I'm making mixes, I'm with my friends. But really, when you're out in spaces, like all of this is tied back to dance in some type of form. So, okay, I'm gonna go back to, I'm gonna like play it for like one more second and then like play.
The better dancers that get molded by the better dancers in the group. Then the other group, Legends, Wolfpack, they mold Terror Squad. Then Terror Squad mold the leaders. And then, you know what I'm saying, it's from so on and so on and so on.
You know, it's called basics like dribbles, skates, bangs. It's like original moves that the people who started for it before us was doing. And it just dabble down, and then you create something with it.
We didn't land on footwork. Footworking landed on us.
Okay, I just wanted to end on him because he said something really smart. But yeah, basically the prime people that really were pioneers, you should just know their name, is this group out of Chicago, Tech Life. There's the DJs that were like shown on in the beginning of the documentary. Those DJs are a part of this group. There's definitely a lot of DJs and other people who are not in that group that also like do a lot of footwork and production and also juke, but essentially these, especially DJ Rashad, like just know their names. And then getting back into why creating more community in DJs is important is because of kind of like what Disc Woman is doing, and electronic music especially, which is interchangeable with dance music. There isn't a lot of representation or even like spaces for like definitely like non-binary and also just like trans people and also just women. That also went into like the Jersey Club type of documentary when it's just like, oh, most of the people making the music is men, but you know, that shouldn't be the case. And especially just with the dangers of like what nightlife has become. So they put a lot of effort in just like pushing different marginalized genders of DJs and producers. And it's a really great project to look into. They have a website. And then besides that, I just add a lot of documentaries that you can look through when you have time about. So Jungle is just another dance production in the UK. It takes a lot of samples of R&B music, but it speeds it up like enormously fast. Like you can kind of like understand where hyperpop comes from eventually, but this is like one of the key moments where sampling is like primarily heavy. And then this is like one of my favorite genres of music ever. It's a dance music out of Brazil. And then also there's the South African dance music called Gqom that's out of like South Africa. It's really dark and heavy and kind of like intense, but it should be making waves and it's like really great. But I want to really play this documentary trailer. It's only a minute, and then that's the end of like the PowerPoint. But then we'll get into like virtual DJ. But I really want to play this, so I'll be doing that.
Oh my God, that is gruesome. That's his face just splayed out.
Foram 3 tiros de calibre 12 na cabeça.
His face just
Desfez o rosto, virou uma gelatina. Ou seja, não acho normal dentro do que a gente trabalha, do que a gente investiga. Então, a pessoa que faz um negócio desse está muito preparada para usar uma arma, muito preparada mesmo.
I think the funk is definitely ostracized. It's definitely considered criminal music for a lot of people, but I think they already have like the cultures established. They kind of stole it from Rio and are making something brand new in São Paulo.
Faz o sinal da vida louca, joga a pistola pro ar.
Bololô. Bololô.
Okay, but yeah, it's just like, yeah, definitely in Brazil, that type of dance music is just like everybody, especially who a lot of Brazil is like full of like Black people and also just like lower income people. That's where a lot of the music is in. So it's like really cool if you look into it. But other than that, your next steps, you know, find some way to practice, get some friends, get some gear, try to like be a DJ somewhere, go to your backyard, DJ for your parents, do anything, make mixes, submit it to radio stations, Verge, or play in public. There's a lot of like bars and stuff. And then again, like build community and have fun. It's just about dancing and having fun and being a part of like a group of people. So other than that, in conclusion, this is only a slim guide. Hopefully you learned something. We have a beautiful PowerPoint, but what happens next, we're going to go into like what is virtual DJ, loading and mixing, and then also arranging tracks and like ideas of like light phrasing, since you may learn that as you practice. So I will have to reshare my screen. So, oh wait, hold up, I messed up. I have to do, okay, I did that, okay. So yeah, I don't know, Lou, if you want to like go over like mechanics. I'm gonna like be on mute and stuff before like I start mixing and explain that.
Okay. Yeah, so once you have your songs downloaded, you literally just drag them into sorry, you don't drag them, what am I saying? You would go to find them on the side, wherever they may be. And you can also make playlists, which is probably the best thing to do. Make playlists of like different types of music or like a certain mood, stuff like that. You can also make a side list, which I do a lot while I'm making playlists, or I like use it as my playlist. And you can either drag the song onto the deck, or you can load it by like double clicking or right clicking and then hitting like load onto deck 1 or deck 2. You can also on Virtual DJ, it has a couple different interfaces. So Reg is using like the yeah, there we go, it's the Pro. So it has these 2 decks, but you can also go to like the waveform, which is really helpful. And you can go to, there's like one that has 4 decks, I think. Yeah, you got the 4 decks. So you can kind of play around with that and find out what's best for you in that way. I'm trying to think what else I should tell you right now.
But yeah, I think one of the important things, so you can like filter through a lot of your songs either like in order or like the title or through key or through BPM. BPM is very important. So before we even start mixing, BPM is how fast a song is going. You know, I don't know if like how many people would know that, but it's just how fast the song is. And essentially you're trying to mix songs with similar BPMs. And if it's fine if like a song is not in the same BPM, you're able to change it to the same BPM as the other song. But essentially you're trying to transition one song into the next, so making sure it sounds harmonically good. Most of the time you can't go like from an 80 song to like 128. If you do, it's gonna not sound great. But what you can do is either go to like an 80 song to like another 80, or you can do an 80 and 160. So half tempo is fine with like, you know, twice the tempo. So knowing that on hand, you know, sometimes you may have a calculator on your phone. You can like do that in real life. Or, you know, what is great about Virtual DJ, it has a really good sync button. And that like syncs up the track as you're mixing it in. So it's really important for DJing, like while you're also doing this, you're not just like throwing songs together like a playlist. You're trying to like make a set that sounds dynamic, or even just like smooth, or like, you know, it doesn't really sound disjointed, because when people are dancing, they're going to hear that. Or if they're like vibing out, they're going to hear that, and you're trying to like direct them into their mood. So it's kind of like a weird curated, like you're trying to make people feel a certain type of way. So if you try to like do a harsh change, be intentional about it, but if not, don't do it. So yeah, I don't know, Lou, if you have like any other things, but I think I may like throw some stuff on there. I don't have headphones, so most of the time when you're mixing, you'll have headphones that you're able to hear this track to bring it in before you actually like mix it into the other song. I don't have that, so it may not be the best, but I think after mixing for so long, it should be okay. Also, I started on Virtual DJ and I started on my computer, and I just will say like the more music you can get and the bigger the library you can build, and like the more you can listen, the better DJ you're gonna be. And yeah, I think like starting on Virtual DJ, like it really formed like the way I mix, and I'm glad I did it, because I'm able to like have a broad range of how I want to like bring in songs. So yeah, Lou, I don't know if you have anything else, but I'm about to get into some mixing.
I think you should mix. Yeah.
Okay, and then after I'll mix like a couple, like 1 or 2 songs, and then we can just talk about those, if that makes sense. Cool.
Music, ghetto tech, music, ghetto tech, music, ghetto tech, music, ghetto tech, music.
Light it up.
pass that shit, like 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 that shit. Light it up, motherfucker, light it up. Pass that shit, 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 pass that. Go ahead, pass it, light it up, motherfucker, light it up. Light it up, motherfucker, light it up. Go ahead, pass it, go ahead, pass it, go ahead, pass it, go ahead, pass it. Light it up, motherfucker, light it up. Light it up, motherfucker, light it up. Go ahead, pass it, go ahead, pass it, go ahead, pass it, go ahead, pass it, pass it. Yo, what's up now? 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 Yo, what's up now?
Yo, what's up now? Yo, what's up now? Yo, what's up now? Yo, what's up now? Yo, what's up now? Yo, I know. 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 Yo, what's up now? 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 Yo, what's up now?
Okay. Well, I don't know if you want to go first since you were watching me.
Yeah. So I think you saw Reg was mainly messing with the high-low frequencies. And the mid as well, like with the frequency, yeah, in the middle right there. Because it's probably one of the most important things when you're bringing songs in and like switching them out, to use that, because you're able to take away the bass or take away the melody a little bit or all the way, and therefore bring in the one that sounds different more easily. And you'll also notice that Reg was using the sync button because that is definitely the best way to go on virtual DJ. But yeah, I don't know what else do you want to say, Reg.
Yeah, so essentially like what I did, especially with this type of song, is just like making sure you know your songs. So I know like this one has like this heavy like melody and bass. So it's just like making sure like sometimes like having basses overlap is fine, just depending on like how it sounds, and sometimes you just gotta explore that. But most of the time, most melodies are going to be in the middle section, and like, you know, your drums and bass are going to be your kick, and then for your hi-hats, that's just going to have a lot of like the higher notes, like either like the clanging, or if it's like Mariah Carey, her voice is going to be up there. So it's just knowing what melodically, or like even just like the way like it sounds. So for me, I'm like, okay, this has a lot of bass. I'm not gonna like put in a bass because you're not gonna hear it. So sometimes you're not gonna like have time to like think like that. Like for me, you know, you saw me like go through like a different playlist because I couldn't find a song that I wanted. And as well, I know like going back to like these two tracks, I know like because this one has a lot of like melody and etc. I chose one without it, and you just only heard the voice. So it was just like, oh, okay, it's not gonna be overwhelming. So that's, and then the next thing I'm gonna do is basically go like have this track that doesn't have a lot going on. It just has a vocal and like a drum and a kick, and a hi-hat or something, and trying to like bring it into the next mood, because right now I guess I'm going very vibey, and a lot of what I'm playing is footwork and juke. So those are like 80 and 160 usually. But another thing that I did use an effect. So most of the time your effects are going to be here. Loop out is a really nice effect. I didn't know what it was when I first used Virtual DJ. Basically you can click it and it loops out the track over time, and it makes it for a nice transition out of it. And you may have heard it as I like went to the other song. I use that a lot. I use reverb more on CDJs or like on my like actual like actually I have this, the actual like smaller DDJ, and that just like helps with like creating effects. Another one I use is pitch because sometimes I like changing the voice. I use delay depending if it has like a lot of drums and it's just like no vocals, just drums, because then I can like make it sound differently in different parts. But yeah, between loop out and one of the, unless you have like a DJ board, like basically like back spinning on a DJ board is like a lot easier than doing it on your laptop. So thankfully Virtual DJ they have their own backspin button, but it's not as like, once you have like a CDJ or like a standalone like DJ board like backspin, it's never the same. So I personally don't use it, but I did my last mix I had for like a radio most recently. I use my computer and I literally just use looped out like most of the time. But yeah, I'm just gonna do one more mix and then also open it up for you like to have questions too, since you like saw me mix 2 times, so I'll do it one more time.
Yo, what's up now? 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 See what the sound say. Yo, what's up now? 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 Yo, what's up now?
Okay. I had to change my layout mainly because most boards they'll have usually this is called the EQ, so basically a mixer, you know. It's mimicking the same thing on virtual DJ. It's importantly just to know like the filter and like what it does to like music as you're like bringing them in and out. Mainly because you'll be doing that a lot. Because you can't really bring in a song without messing with either the highs, mids, or lows, or like the filter, because it's like going to sound bad 100% of the time.
So true.
Yeah, you can now get into like the mixing part of it.
Yeah, and it's good. It's kind of good to a classic technique would be to like start the filter to the left, you know, start bringing it to the left on the song you're playing, and start it from the right on the song you're bringing in, and just kind of, or wait, no, the opposite. Sorry. So start it in the middle. Start it in the middle. I'm describing this so bad because I can't do it physically. Middle, filter, song you're playing, all the way down, right, song you're bringing in, and then just kind of, you know, twist on, or bring
yeah.
it.
Yeah, so essentially you're like would have it, you'll have like this song playing and then you would switch it, but it's easier to do it when you have a board. But when you're doing it on your computer, usually you just like filter out or like have your filter in, and basically the filter like, you know, takes away the bass without having to take away the bass of the song. And if you have it the other way, the other side of the filter, it just makes it sound like it's very like underwater. That's how I interpret it, just like with a lot of bass, and it has like a limiter on it, so like you can't really hear the highs. So it's really helpful.
Yeah. I know you were like maybe gonna talk a little bit about phrasing. I don't know if you want to get like really into it, but I think it's important to note that you're gonna be counting 1, 2, 3, 4, all, you know, all the time, like every techno song, and that you can build on, like, songs build on that. So when it comes to phrasing, it's like 4, 8, 16, like things are happening at these intervals, and it's important to note that. And then also the cue button can be so helpful. You can set cues. It's automatically going to go to the beginning of the song, but you can set a cue or set a hot cue, and then by pressing the hot cue button, it will go to that cue, so you can like start on a certain part of the song that is not the beginning, which is really nice, by just hitting it.
Yeah, so you don't really have to like always play the song right when it starts. And sometimes what you do is like you're listening to a song, you know where you want to start in the song, and you just like know the songs you want to play and just have your hot cues ready, and then you just like start from there. And like, yeah, going back to what Lou said about like the 4/4, like techno, that's how techno was made, by the 4/4 beat. And again, like almost every dance music and also music in general is based off that beat. And in virtual DJ, depending on your skin, it will be up here counting. Usually this bar kind of like shows where it is in the phrase, but as well, some people it's helpful because on CDJs and other types of DJ boards, the standalones, not the like not lower income, but the lower ones, they will have that. And sometimes it does help people to see it and see the beat and like know how to like match it up. But for me, like I can hear the beat and like also like know where I am in the song to bring it in. So it just depends on what type of DJ you are, like who you are, like as a listener. If you can't really remember like the song or like what you're doing, or like even know like the structure of like of the dance genre in general, then it's sometimes easier to look at like this part. And that's why going back to like listening to every type of DJ and like listening to every type of music genre, it's if once you know the genre, you know the structure of the song essentially. So you don't really need to listen to like every song to know the structure. And if you like listen to like certain types of like DJs that mix, like, you can know how to like mix out of certain songs and mix into them. But yeah, and it's a lot easier once you download virtual DJ and use your own type of music that you want to play with. Most regular songs like rock, R&B and stuff, they're usually from like 74 to like 100. They are not that fast, and that's very surprising. So dance music in general, there is a lot of remixes and etc. I mean, not every song is like capped at 100 BPM, but with dance music, there's a lot of remixes, and importantly, with dance music, it has a lot of different types of BPMs. So that's why when a lot of people get into DJing, they think they'll be just DJing like popular music, but then they end up DJing like dance music instead, because there's just like so much of it in different ways. So I don't know if you have any questions right now. We did talk a lot and showed you a lot, so I don't know how you're processing.
Yeah, I'm not sure I have anything specific right now. Yeah, I think I have a good idea, and this has been very helpful, so thanks.
Yeah, and you can always email us. We're down, so.
Yeah, and you can either email us, but also like the best way to get better at mixing is like mix with other people and also mix for people. So it's always good to try to do that. Your first mix will be bad. So my first mix was bad. I accepted it. And you'll get better. If you start mixing and it just sounds terrible, and if you stop, you'll never get better. The only thing I can only say is like everyone who listens to it appreciates what you're doing, and appreciate mixes. So if you do make a mix and send it to us, we'll definitely listen, because it's like cool. We love when people try new things, and from there you'll get better. Like I only started DJing like a little bit over a year ago, and I came like such a far way. But if you put in the work, it'll pay off. But yeah, you can get virtual DJ on your Mac or Windows. It's free. And if there's any more questions, our email, and we'll be having a live session this Friday from 6 to 7. That's using a RX2. I don't know if you're in Columbus or not. And additionally, outside of that, we will have open decks, which will be using Rekordbox. So
you would have to send us your tracks, but if you send us your tracks, then.
Well, I don't know if we'll be doing that, Lou.
What are we doing?
So, we'll have tracks preloaded, but if you are interested and you will be showing up to like the open decks, we can also send you a link to Rekordbox. We'll also be just sending out a follow-up email in general, and that way, with a tutorial on how to like create a folder on Rekordbox and analyze your tracks if you want to do an open deck. But it's a lot different than learning on the computer, but it's kind of worth it.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for coming and also listening to us talk. We'll be sending the PowerPoint, the recording, and then also like information on Rekordbox and our open decks and other live sessions later today or tomorrow. So that way, those that miss can like rewatch, and also we'll have the list of the documentaries if you want to watch those too.
All right, awesome. Thank you guys.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Have a good day.
I'll let you know if anything comes of this.
Yeah, send us a mix to make it for real.
Yeah, literally, if you make a mix, I definitely would listen to it. So you can upload a mix is on SoundCloud or Mixcloud. So drop it in
there. Send me my first acceptable mix. But all right, thanks again.
No problem. Bye.